Malaysia's most dynamic leaders. We were just engaged coming over here in a very, very wonderful discussion on key topics for this country's future. Not only are the two ministers very dynamic, very articulate, and very much promoting this country's interests, but also they have key portfolios. So Minister Yeo Bee Yin is with the portfolio of energy, science, technology, environment, and climate change. Wow, that is amazing. Any one of those is a ministry. Normally, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 ministries for the future of this country. So I'm very excited to hear about all of it, because science and technology is a general proposition about the growth and development of Malaysia. Energy and environment and climate change are, of course, about the sustainability of Malaysia and the world, as we've been talking about all day. And Minister Teresa is also holding a core portfolio. She's the Minister of Primary Industries. For this country, that is absolutely essential and pivotal. And we were in already a very intensive discussion, which we're going to open up for everybody, on the question of the future of land use and sustainability in Malaysia. So, Minister Yeo Bee Yin, I wonder if I could turn the microphone over to you, and please talk a bit, if you would, about all those different parts of your portfolio, about science and technology generally, and then, of course, about energy, environment, climate change.
Okay. Thanks, Prof. So if you would like me to talk about all the whole portfolios, it's going to take a long time, and probably will be 2 hours just on what we do in the ministry and what we... Let me just summarize it into perhaps something that is more related to sustainable development and some of the things that people talk about when we talk about sustainable development. So I will just focus on 2 goals in the sustainable development goal. One of it is the clean and affordable energy. I just want to update the people here, the delegates here, that the government actually set new targets since 2018 and 2018. We want to increase our renewable energy in our electricity generation mix from 2% to 20%, excluding large hydro above 100 megawatt, because we have large hydro that actually sink all our forests and in the Sarawak, that we do not count it as a green energy in one parameters, the other one we calculate it. So by 2025, we'll hit about more than 40% if we include large hydro. But government would like to proactively go into other types of renewable energy. So whenever we talk about clean, but the 7th development goal also talk about affordable. So as we actually go into our energy planning, we are looking into not only green energy, renewable energy target, but whether this renewable energy target is affordable for people. So we actually, since end of 2018, has started a few new policies. One is net energy metering, where we renew the net energy metering policies, where people, if you put on rooftop solar behind the meter electricity generation, you can now sell to the utility on a one-on-one offset basis. And then together with what we call green investment tax allowance, we give tax allowance to commercial and industry players. Together with that, it becomes a very feasible model for people. Why? Because you have electricity savings, because you can sell electricity, and after that, by investing in it and through a period of time, you will be able to recover your capex. That for normal industry and corporate players is 3 to 5 years. So that is one, net energy metering. We continue large-scale solar. Large-scale solar, I just give you a very good news from our large-scale solar bidding. We started an open tender beginning of the year, where we open tender for large-scale solar, and we found that as we closed the large-scale solar tender, and we ran the price and the cost of generation, we found that out of the 500 megawatt that we opened up, 395 megawatt of the large-scale solar project beat at the price below 23.22 cents per kilowatt hour. What is 23.22 cents? That is the average generation cost of gas-powered plant. So this marks the beginning that solar has become very competitive versus fossil fuel. Of course, it is a bit further from coal power plant. Coal power plants at 15 cents, but we are seeing this will be the beginning where we see solar not as a green energy, but as an energy that is actually cheaper. And even today, if you're looking into our energy market, you will see that how our energy is traded every half an hour. Then you will see actually most of the time solar energy afford to provide a cheaper energy option. That is why government would like to encourage renewable energy, solar energy, and why rooftop. Net energy metering, the policies that I talked about, rooftop, because we have a lot of roofs in Malaysia. I just give you an example. Malaysia is a very sprawled country where we actually plan our country very sprawled. We have 3.2 million of landed residential properties. We have 450 shop lots, and then 91,000 of terrace factories, 21,000 of standalone factories. And for the ladies here, we actually have 1,000 shopping complexes in Malaysia. So that amounts to 24 gigawatt of rooftop potential. That is why the government have this. And recently in the budget, because even on renewable energy policy itself, it takes a long time. But just to summarize, recently in the budget, not only we have the traditional green investment tax allowance, green investment tax exemption, green financing scheme, we also include green investment tax allowance for solar leasing company. The rest, solar leasing company, which means the company will come to your house, put on rooftop solar, zero upfront cost, but you buy solar power from them, which is cheaper than you buy from TNB. So this will encourage solar leasing companies to invest. So overall, what we want to do, we want to provide, as an energy minister, I do not only want it to be green, I also want it to be affordable. Malaysia is a developing country. We must make sure that when we do this, we are not only achieving the green goal, we are achieving the economic goal as well. So we are seeing this a huge potential by changing the regulation, giving the incentives to move into, to encourage and attract private investment. So we have this target of 20% renewable energy. I give what is going to happen in the next 7 years is that this target of renewable energy is going to attract about 33.2 billion ringgit Malaysia of private investment, generate more than 50,000 of green jobs in Malaysia. And this is on top of what we do today. I give you another perspective on why green sector is a new frontier for growth for Malaysia as a whole. 1 gigawatt hour of solar energy will generate 6.65 jobs. And versus the other part of it, if you look into fossil fuel of coal and gas, is 0.07 jobs and 0.06 jobs per gigawatt hour. So we are actually, when we talk about we are generating new jobs, we are not generating and replacing jobs from the fossil fuel, we are generating new jobs. So I just want to give you that only because it will take a long time for me to explain all the other parts of it. On this clean and affordable energy, the government has this goal, and that we have planned to reach our goal, not only an environment goal, but also really on the economic goal as well. I think that is the spirit of sustainable development. Sustainable development is all about development and sustainable. There cannot be sustainable development when there is no development. There cannot be shared prosperity when there is no prosperity. Whenever we think about sustainability, we must first think about whether or not there is development. So that is one part of it, and I hope to answer some of the questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very important and gratifying to hear that the price of solar has come down to competitive levels. Can I ask you about coal? This country became a significant coal importer over the last 25 years. What is the policy on coal? Can you say that there will be no more coal-fired power plants built in the future?
So our new coal-fired power plant is just commercialized this year. So even we talk about phasing out, it will be 21 years from now because the government signed a power purchase agreement for 21 years. So in the next 10 years, we are not going to plant out any more coal-fired power plant for a simple reason that we have a renewable energy target and we still have a lot of coal plant running. And that whenever we are talking about future energy policies, we must always be technology, we must not be biased towards whatever technology. What is important for using of coal is the carbon emission. If coal technology is going to improve, and they will have less carbon emission through technological change, which I do not know, maybe there will be technology breakthrough, and that is for further energy players or policy makers to decide on what policies. A lot of people, a lot of government wants to choose technological winner. In Malaysia, every 6 months, we do power planning. So power planning to look into what is the source of energy, what will be our estimation of what is to come in and what is to leave. But what we want is that we have a carbon emission goal, and then we are agnostic towards what type of technology. And then for this, as of now, in our planning horizon, in the next 10 years, we cannot see coal to be a clean energy, and we still have so much of it. That is why we are not injecting to it. But to rule it out that there will be clean coal, the real clean coal, not the current, what they say, clean coal, then there will be a commitment that you may not know there may be disruption in coal technology, in the turbine, or whether or not there will be carbon capture technology that is available that may be coal something that is less carbon than what it is today. But our commitment should be on carbon emission and agnostic towards what type of technologies we are picking on.
I think if I could add just a footnote to that, clean coal is used in a couple of different ways. One is that it doesn't give particulate pollution or sulfur pollution and so forth. But that kind of clean coal still emits carbon dioxide, that's what you were saying. In fact, no matter how good the coal burning is, how efficient, whether it's a supercritical plant or a very highly efficient plant, it still is a major carbon emitter. The only way that coal could conceivably fit within the Paris climate framework is if the carbon dioxide is being captured and geologically stored. So the only possibility is that somehow that becomes competitive with solar power or with other zero carbon energy. The chances of that are close to zero. And in this sense, as long as you are rigorous in your carbon emissions policy, I would predict you will and should not build any more coal-fired power plants again in this country. It's hard to believe that there's any future for coal because, as you rightly said, the cost of renewables, and especially solar, has come down so much that building a coal plant with carbon capture and storage is almost surely too expensive compared to the better alternatives.
I tend to agree. I mean, in the horizon that we can see, in the technological scanning that we have done, of course, I agree that not in a foreseeable future that we'll be able to see clean coal that is of carbon, less carbon as of renewable energy. But I also remember the time about 15 years ago, or no, about 10 years ago, when people tell us, I mean, in a very good institution at Cambridge, where there are professors that told the whole students that, there is no future for solar because the price will never come down. So that was that left in me a very strong impression that anything can change. Even the most advanced, the most knowledgeable professors may make a wrong mistake in terms of what technology is going to advance depends on what are the disruptions that are coming in. So again, what I say in our planning, in the next, what we are planning, our power planning is until 2030. We are not seeing any coal plant coming up or new coal plant coming up. But in the future, it really depends on technology. So we must commit to a carbon emission goal. And then that carbon emission goal, and then choose the energy sources that is most competitive in terms of price and environmental goal. And that would be the better way in terms of our planning. So what is our objective? Our objective is not to rob coal. Our objective is to cut carbon. What is our objective? So must understand what is the objective and then that calculate it in our policy planning.
Thank you very much. I'll ask one more question. While I have you here, our objective to...
How come you never asked Teresa any question?
I know it too.
Okay, all right.
She'll have her turn in just a moment. I promise. I absolutely promise. Our goal is to make carbon emissions by the mid-century. Will Malaysia come forward next year on the 5th anniversary of the COP when we're all supposed to make bolder plans with a vision all the way to 2050? I know you told me you don't believe in that too much because the politicians won't be around necessarily, though you may very well be. You're very young and a long future. But I believe that it's important to set the vision. So will Malaysia set a vision to reach zero by mid-century?
So the Paris Agreement that Malaysia has signed as one of the signatories of Paris Agreement, we have made a commitment in Paris Agreement where we will reduce our carbon emission intensity by 45% by 2030 relative to 2005 level. That is on carbon emission intensity. That means carbon emission per GDP growth. And that, of course, at this moment, Malaysia has 11 more years to go. We have already reached 33% of carbon emission reduction, carbon intensity reduction. So, of course, then 2020 is the year where we review whether or not we are going to have a bolder targets for carbon emission. That means more than the 45% that we have agreed and committed and on a comfortable path to reach. If there is any in 2020 COP in the United Nations framework, UNFCCC will announce it. We'll announce in the next COP in UK, Glasgow. But what I would like to leave for Malaysians here is that when government go out and negotiate in the international zone, international arena, we always take the position of what we call common but differentiated responsibilities. That means if we are to go carbon-free 2050, and versus that of some other people on the Western world that who already emitted so much carbon. If any of you are interested in climate science, you will understand that the current global warming is not because of your today's emission. It's actually the accumulated emissions since the industrialization that actually accumulate so much wealth for developed nations. So, and then if we are to reach the same goal, what will be the mechanism of capacity building or financial support from the developed countries so that we reach our goal, but at the same time we do not neglect, or that at the same time we also have economic development. So whenever we negotiate, we always negotiate based on common but differentiated responsibility. So whether Malaysia will go free, carbon free by 2050, as this is a very bold target by developed countries like Germany. Today I just met the Deputy Minister of the Energy Minister. Not even the US. The US is. Are you from? So I'm so sorry. US is out from the Paris Agreement. I'm sure that Prof, you will do whatever you can to persuade the President. So just think about it. Going carbon free for Malaysia. What is Malaysia's global emission? 0.6% of the total global emission. Whatever you do, you are just not going to save the world because you are not the biggest emitter. What we do, we hope to inspire, and hopefully we have the technology breakthrough that will be able, and services that will be able to sell it to other countries that can generate jobs for us and help other countries to reduce carbon. But to say that we are going to carbon free and we are going to save the world, maybe not. But we are going to commit to be a global citizen, be a part of the United Nations to cut the global carbon emission, of which we hope countries like the United States will also be a part of it.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I'm returning to the United States tonight for a short time to help teach our president, so I'm all in agreement with you. You'd be very tough across the negotiating table, I congratulate you. But I do suggest, actually, that all countries have a plan to reach zero, and then I will help you to negotiate that the United States pays for it. That would be fair enough. Now, Minister Koch, it's your turn. You have another easy subject, which is land use, palm oil, sustainability, and quite seriously, I know that you're very much on top of your portfolio, so it would be very good if you could bring us up to date on all of the questions about sustainable land use in this country around the primary industries.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. Jeffrey Chia, Chairman of ASLI, and all the top leaders of ASLI, and ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor to come here to meet with Professor Jeffrey Chia on the sustainable development and issue related to, I would like to share something, the issue related to my ministry. Okay, for primary industries, this ministry, you won't find it in other countries, only Malaysia. Under my ministry, just for those, in case you don't know, there are a few sectors. Number 1 is palm oil, number 2 rubber, number 3 timber, and number 4 cocoa, number 5 pepper, number 6 is kernel and tobacco, which we are going to close down soon. All these sectors are mainly plantation, and they are very important. Approximately a total of 1.1 million smallholders are involved in all these industries. I'm talking about upstream of these industries. Just give you a breakdown. 650,000 smallholders bekerja sawit is under palm oil, and we have 440,000 rubber smallholders, rubber tappers or smallholders. So more than 1.1 million. Okay, if every smallholder they have 6 family members or 8 family members, you just times, how much, how important is the agri-commodity for our Malaysian economy, especially the rural economy. Okay, currently in our country, we have 7 million hectares are cultivated for agri-commodity, which accounts for 93% of the total agricultural land and 21% of Malaysia's land area. When I mention the word 93% of total agricultural land under my ministry, that means the agriculture ministry only has the balance of 7% of the land. So I'm supposed to be agriculture minister. But, that tells you the problem. The agriculture ministry doesn't have enough land to grow paddy, to grow food. But for my ministry, just oil palm alone, 74% of the agricultural land in Malaysia has been used to plant oil palm. So there is advantage and also disadvantage, because the advantage is now palm oil price is growing, right? So the country is going to get more export revenue, and there will be an increase of taxes, collected by the government. But when the price was low, like what happened, a few months ago, last year, everybody suffered. The whole economy, suffered, especially those in the agri-commodity area. In 2019, total exports projected to reach RN 134.5 billion, and expected to achieve this in 2020 is 146 billion ringgit. Then, you see, every commodity is the third major export for Malaysia. Third major export. That's why it is so important. Okay, I want to cut short. Just now we had, some discussion with Professor Jeffrey about Malaysia's sustainable palm oil standard. For those who are not aware, that for our palm oil sector, we aim to achieve 100% sustainability certification. Actually, supposed to be by 31st December this year, as announced by the previous minister. But when I took over his portfolio, I think, if I remember correctly, only 17% of the total oil palm planted area has been certified under MSPO. I'm referring to last year, July only I, sworn in to become minister, 17%. But today, by end of September, we already reached 55% of the total planted area of oil palm certified under MSPO. What is MSPO? MSPO, we benchmark on the German standard. It includes 7 principles that address the environmental, social and economic aspects of palm oil production, cultivation and processing methods, protecting forests and wildlife, safeguard workers' welfare and safety, and provision of living wage oils. And here I also would like to take the opportunity to, just in case you didn't pay attention in the media's report, on 22nd March this year, the Cabinet has approved the proposal from my ministry on 4 important decisions. Number 1 is we want to cap the oil palm plantation area to 6.5 million hectares. Okay, at the moment, if according to NPOB license, we have about 5.85 million hectares of oil palm planted area. So we cap at 6.5 million. Number 2, no more planting in peat soil. Those oil palm that planted in the existing oil palm that planted in the peat soil area, they have to be managed, carefully. Number 3, no more planting in permanent forestry area. Number 4, open up oil palm plantation for public access. So I can tell you that this open up oil palm plantation public access, I think you all read the newspaper that a few months ago there was a haze, haze from Indonesia, Borneo, and affected everybody. Then SPO say they want to open up oil palm plantation back. But the problem is also they need the JUPAM, that is the government, the agency that in charge of this, mapping area, need the approval. So it really takes a lot of time for us to discuss, to JUPAM, to open up oil palm. So we are working on it, and at the moment we are still working with certain state governments, because land office is under the state government. We need to get the approval. We need to match their map and our map together. So I hope that by the first quarter of next year, we can get the whole country, the oil palm plantation map to be done up. Then we will what do you call that? Make it public for public access, to show that we are very transparent in our oil palm plantation. Okay, then just I mentioned that we are going to cap the oil palm plantation, oil palm plantation to 6.5 million hectares. Then the question comes back to how are we going to meet the world growing population? You see, if we in Malaysia, we just have 32 million population. You know, when I go to promote palm oil to other countries, I find that they are very small. Because when we want to ask them to buy a palm oil, they ask us to buy their products of their countries too. Especially when I remember when I talked to the Minister of Commerce. So he said, you see, there is so much trade deficit between India and Malaysia. We import so much palm oil from Malaysia. Malaysia should buy more products from India. So I look at him in my heart, I was saying, you know, you have 1.3 billion population. We just have 32 million population. It's the size of Mumbai, in terms of population. So, you know, we have been importing like buffalo meat from India. How many buffaloes, you know, do we need to import to meet that kind of trade balance? So it is difficult. So like, it is, somehow I find that, you know, if we have bigger population like Indonesia, we can argue more. And, you know, when I went to Vietnam, I got shocked to learn that, you know, every year in Vietnam, there is a growth of population of 1 million. 1 million babies born every year in Vietnam. So that's why we want to sell palm oil into that market. But, you know, there is an advantage in big population. But anyway, to answer that question is, now we have the genome species, the latest, what do you call that, seedlings, where we can double the yield. At the moment, we have the yield of about, in average, is about 4 tons per hectare per year. But now the new species, we can come out to 8 to 10 tons per hectare per year. Then we don't need to increase the planted area, but we can have more oil yield. So this is the direction that we are looking at. Okay, you know, when you talk about deforestation, a lot of people think about oil palm. Do you know that Malaysia, the oil palm planted area is only 0.11%. Listen, 0.11% of the total global agricultural area. And yet we have been whacked left, right, center. Accused of deforestation, 0.11%. So, and in the Rio Summit, our Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir, had announced in the Rio Summit in 1992 that Malaysia will always have more than 50% of the area under forest cover. We still maintain that pledge, you know. We still have about roughly about 53 or 54% forestry area. So when I went to lobby on palm oil in Europe, you know, to make people understand how big is our 53-54% forest. So I tell them it's about 5.8 times of the size of Belgium. They look at you, you got so much forest. Yes, then I ask where is your forest? You know, where is the forest in Belgium? And also, I also would like to give you a figure, okay? You know, oil palm plantation contributes to carbon sink and will have significant role in the global carbon balance. Science-based sustainable management practices in oil palm plantation improve efficiency of greenhouse gas sequestration or carbon sequestration. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Okay, you look at this line. According to the Forestry and Forest Product Research Institute of Japan, oil palm absorbs higher carbon dioxide than natural forests, with oil palm absorbing 25 tons per hectare per year as compared to natural forests, which absorbs 6 tons per hectare per year. Okay, maybe Professor doesn't agree, maybe you also have doubts. I'm just reading, this is the finding of the Forestry and Forest Product Research Institute of Japan. So it's up to the scientists to go to argue it out. Oh, is it true or not true? You know, because they used to think that we deforest our country, but oil palm apparently can absorb more carbon compared to a forest. Okay, here I just like to briefly mention about another thing that is. Do you know? Are you aware that when palm oil being criticized heavily, the palm oil industry in Malaysia is governed by more than 60 national laws and regulations, including the Land Acquisition Act, National Land Code, Environmental Land Conservation Act, that revised in 1989, Environment Quality Act, Pesticides Rule, Occupational Safety and Health Act, Labour Law, and Wildlife Conservation Act. In addition, there are 25 licensing categories throughout the oil palm industry's supply chain to ensure the industry meets the strict requirements as set out under Malaysian Palm Oil Board (MPOB) rules and regulations. The palm oil industry adopts good agricultural practices which include zero burning and integrated pest management. Open burning is illegal in Malaysia, and under the zero burning practice, the old oil palm stands are felled, chopped, and left to decompose in the fields. This ensures an environment that is free of transboundary haze and smoke pollution, a major concern for environment and climate scientists. Then, of course, then you will ask, then what's happening to the haze? We contributed to it, right? And there are some hotspots also in Borneo, like in Sabah and Sarawak area. We actually really need to go down to explain, to reach out to smallholders. When I do my MSPO, we call Jelajah MSPO, meaning that we travel around the country, having dialogue, talk to the smallholders about MSPO. For smallholders, you go to talk to them about sustainability. What is that, man? For them, many of them are illiterate, okay? They have problem even to write their own names. Some of them. When we implement MSPO, it's really a hand-holding exercise. It's really difficult. It's not easy. So we have to explain to them why. I show them, what Greenpeace is doing to us. I explain to them, then we can sell at a better price. You have to talk in the language that, express in the way that they understand. So, but they talk about why elephants killed, right? A few elephants killed in Sabah, and also this no more open burning, or that. We really need to go down and talk to them. We also need those big plantation players. This morning, in my speech as I addressed the big players and also the ministerial meeting on the palm oil producing countries, we do mention that we hope the big plantation players also go down with us to educate our small farmers, because otherwise you will still have it here and there. Okay, next year we are going to implement biodiesel B20. How many of you know what is B20? Raise your hands. Okay, few hands. Meaning that 20% of palm oil going to put inside your car. Mixed with 80% of diesel. That is called B20. You might shock. Safe, use palm oil. Actually, you have been using B10 now. Those who drive diesel cars, already 10% of palm oil inside the diesel, the biodiesel. It's already inside and you don't know. So I just want to tell you, B20 will be implemented. Indonesia will use B30. By using biodiesel, you are going to also reduce the carbon emission in the air, and it's actually better for your car engine. Lastly, I just want to mention also for those who do not know, Malaysia, we have this Sustainable Forest Management, SFM. Malaysia has developed an extensive set of Malaysian criteria and indicators for forest management certification to assess the progress of implementation of SFM at both at the national and forest management units level. So Malaysia has been a leader in this context. We have Malaysian Timber Certification Council, MTCC. That is an agency under my ministry. It was established in year 1998 to implement National Malaysian Timber Certification Schemes, MTCS, which became operational in 2001. As of 30th September this year, 4.21 million hectares of natural forests and 109,025 hectares of forest plantation is the program for the endorsement of forest certification, PEFC. Certifies under, which includes 15 forest management units and 6 forest plantation management units and 363 chain of custody companies obtain PEFC certificate. This certification is very important for us because, not to forget, we export timber to many parts of the world. Our timber is famous, and that's why we have the forest plantation. And also our furniture industry is always the top 10. In terms of export countries, we are in the top 10. So to have this, to have certified wood for them to make furniture is going to help them to sell better. So we also have this Timber Legality Assurance System, or TLAS, to govern the documentation, verification, and enforcement processes involved in licensing, harvesting, transporting, manufacturing, and trading of timber products. So for those who do not know, we have this product. Lastly is about cocoa. Cocoa, we have Asean Good Agricultural Practices for the cocoa planting. And for rubber, our development of rubber plantation is under the Purdue guidelines stipulated in the Environment Quality Act, Section 34A, and the Environment Impact Assessment Order 1987. So, implementation of good agricultural practices and regulations in Malaysian cocoa and rubber industry is an assurance that the production of these commodities adheres to the highest sustainability standard. So, I'll just stop here. So, in case if you have any questions, if I can answer, I'll try my very best to answer. Thank you very much.
I am sitting between two tough ministers. I congratulate you. Both made wonderful presentations. I would personally underscore 2 points that you made. One is your commitment to complete certification, because I think that this is absolutely the national objective. You want to be able to say products from this country are produced sustainably. And especially you're in a neighborhood where that's not necessarily true in other countries. And that will give you a tremendous and important and legitimate market advantage as well. So getting the certification for each of these supply chains, I think, is absolutely in the national interest. The second point you made is putting a limit on palm oil, for example, at the 6.5 million hectares. I think we could stipulate that from a market basis, you could absolutely plant this whole country with palm oil profitably. There is such a large market and it's going to grow globally. You could cut down the whole rainforest and replant palm oil and probably would be profitable. But I don't think you'd want to do it, because you've wrecked this country in the process of doing it. So putting limits on is absolutely core for success. I congratulate you for doing both of these things. I would urge you to hurry, because the pressures are very great, both inside and internationally. And internationally, there is, as everybody knows, a big backlash against the palm oil. So proving that it is being planted sustainably is a tremendous advantage. Showing that the targets are science-based is a tremendous advantage. And what we discussed earlier, which I would really encourage, is having a very transparent demonstration using satellite data that you're adhering to these limits would also be enormously powerful. Because satellites take a picture of Malaysia twice a day for the world to see. And you can see a lot on these satellite pictures. These data are available everywhere now. Google Maps will make these data available at a certain resolution, and they're available even at a much higher resolution. And the whole world is being mapped every day. So it's possible to document, we are living within the limits, stop complaining. And I think that that is absolutely the target that you can achieve and that you should aspire to, and that we at the Jeffrey Sachs Center here would like to support you to achieve. To say, on the basis of science, on the basis of rigorous evidence, Malaysia is sustainable in its land use for its important value chains. I would add one more point, which I mentioned also for Minister Yeo, which is the rich countries should pay for the sustainability as well. And this is part of a proper campaign. This is co-responsibility around the world, not only for you to bear all of these responsibilities, but for the users to bear responsibilities. You have some of the richest companies that are your purchasers. Let them pay an increment also so that the smallholders can be properly compensated, can be supported to be sustainable, and that this country can have some support internationally to share. So I think for both of your agendas, it's very encouraging what we hear and what we've heard today. You're hearing a lot of complaints from a lot of hypocritical countries. My country is so bad it doesn't even complain because it's completely unsustainable. So we don't even hear complaints from the United States, but don't take that as good news. Take that as very bad news, and we're working on making it better. Because the United States has to be part of this solution or we're not going to succeed. But make your case rigorous and show that you're following through, and then I think you will absolutely win the world's support, and we'll do everything we can to ensure that you do win the world's support. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank your two ministers. If I understand correctly, we're going to call on two more of our ministers here. Minister Savan Thet of Lao PDR and also Minister Kao Kim Puan to join us on the stage. So we'll have four esteemed leaders, if you could join on the stage.
Bagi nampaknya guys.
No, so just one. Okay, very good. So we have, I think Minister Kao is not here at this point. But we have a chair that he is. And I would ask Minister Savan Thet, the Deputy Foreign Minister of Lao PDR, to make some comments, and then I'll ask our two ministers to make closing comments, and we will complete the panel in glorious fashion. There you are.
Okay, thank you very much for saying some final words that to achieve sustainable development goals require political will, and it's everyone's responsibility. However, in order to make everyone knows that it's the responsibility, we need to communicate. We need to promote public awareness about SDGs so that everyone go together implement the SDGs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're very encouraged. And please know, we thank you for your leadership, and we plan to have an ASEAN forum at a regular intervals here. We invite you to return, and we look forward to ASEAN-wide leadership in this area. Minister Koh, could I ask you for concluding remarks?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to address issues related to sustainable development, especially on agri-commodity in Malaysia. I think this is a topic that we all need to continue to discuss because we all support SDGs. But it's always good to talk about climate change, SDGs. But most of this discussion is in a 5-star hotel, aircon room, with the English-educated, English-speaking audience. That is what we have. These are the forums where we talk about topics like this. But what's important is, if you really had the zeal to push for a public education, climate change, like I'm talking about, I travel around the country, go to meet the smallholders, convince them about sustainable production of palm oil, and all this take time and take pain. We definitely need more intellectuals like you all to come, also to go down to the ground to talk to the smallholders on good agricultural practices. Because it's easy to talk about climate change in 5-star hotel, but it's difficult when you go down. Tell them not to do open burning. Tell them about how to produce palm oil in a sustainable way. So tomorrow there is for those who are interested, there is a MPOB International Palm Oil Congress exhibition, BPOC 2019. The theme is Balancing Sustainability Pillars. So for those who are interested to know more about palm oil, sustainability standard and all that, you are welcome to participate. You have speakers from all over the world, and issues related to sustainability will be discussed in a congress tomorrow. So thank you very much. I hope that we'll be able to engage with you more, and also Professor Jeffrey Sachs. Next year, I hope our certification rate, MSPO certification rate, will continue to grow more. And next year, we are going to set up a trust for the palm oil industry players to contribute for wildlife conservation and the replanting of forestry trees. We, Malaysia, we want to set good example. We have launched the campaign, Sayangi Sawiku, Love My Palm Oil campaign. Not to forget the tagline, the Malaysia 5-star product. We, Malaysia, we are the 5-star nation. We should produce the 5-star oil.
Next year, we'll look at the data together and show that you have satisfied all of the requirements. We'll look in real time at the satellite data and see that all is well. So this is a good goal for us. And I also want to point out that, fortunately, 5-star hotels and air conditioning are completely consistent with climate change as people do 100% renewable energy. So solar power does a very good job of providing the power that we need. We have other alternatives here, and this country is making a major push towards renewable energy. And next year, I'm sure that we'll review the pathway to 100% with the United States paying. So let me give the last word to you.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to welcome Vice Minister Selamat to Malaysia, Selamat Datang to Malaysia. So just because the Minister is here, actually we have an update on whenever we talk about, maybe I can give me 2 minutes or 3 minutes to just talk more about renewable energy that's related to Laos. Actually, recently in the ASEAN Energy Ministers meeting, Laos, Thailand and Malaysia, we signed the first ever firm energy trading from Laos, selling electricity to Malaysia through Thailand. This is our first, what we call, we have discussed for 20 years, and this is the first firm energy trading agreement that we have signed, that is signed by the Prime Minister, but we agreed upon in ASEAN Energy Ministry meeting to actually help to have power security in ASEAN, and this will be the first of an ASEAN power grid. And now we are discussing with Singapore. We are discussing with Singapore, discussing with Indonesia, and how we connect ASEAN together, because ASEAN as a whole, if we can actually, because renewable energy is intermittent, if we are able to leverage on each other's, will then be able to reduce system costs among ASEAN countries. A lot of trust is needed, but we believe that ASEAN together we can actually make a case for energy story. This is on the ASEAN. So I'm very glad that Laos and Thailand and Malaysia, we actually finally signed that. That is on renewable energy 100, Nansri is here. Actually, government has just launched, I have just launched last week, what we call a green rider tariff. That means if today, any multinational company, any companies that have signed on to the RE100, Renewable Energy 100, actually you can do it in Malaysia now. You can actually purchase green energy from TNE on the green tariff rider, and then to be able to use that fund to continue to fund our renewable energy sources. So we are encouraging most of the MNCs who have signed on to the RE100 to get into this. If you don't really like TNB, it's also okay. You can actually, we are opening up the grid, liberalizing the grid for energy trading for renewable energy. So if you sell renewable energy, you'll be able to buy renewable energy 100% from other solar or other renewable energy source through a liberalized grid, and next year we'll do a what we call a pilot of 100 megawatt, but later on we will see how we want to encourage of this, the budget contract of renewable energy purchase, because since solar is so that is a little bit of promotion on the green tariff rider. But as my closing remark, it's very simple. I have always have the same feeling as what Teresa have. We always discuss about climate change, and then I just imagine UNFCCC in the United Nations, all of the international delegation, a few thousand of them, we actually use the most carbon-intensive transport manner to go into whatever to do the United Nations to reduce carbon emissions. But this is something that is necessary. We can actually do an offset by funding more reforestation, by doing all this, or you can actually purchase renewable energy certificates. It's also a new trading that we have started. You can get carbon. So for all of you here who are corporates, who, if you want to be green and reduce your carbon emission, there is no longer any excuses. So something for you to take home is this. I hope that that we do not only, the things that we know doesn't matter at all to the world. The things we do is something that matters. So I really hope that a conference like this will not only increase your capacity of knowing that it's subject, but it's really increasing or giving you a conviction to do something. So if there is, before you go home today, I would like to encourage you to think of one thing you want to do for your particular organization. Just one thing. You don't need to do a lot of things. Just do one thing, and if you decide on that one thing, it's going to give an impact to a sustainable world through your organization. Decide on that and make sure it happens in your organization. If every year, every delegate in every conference can actually decide on that one thing and make sure that one little action happens, sedikit-dikit, lama-lama jadi dikit. So we can make it.
How great is that for closing words? And how good to hear also about the grid for ASEAN, because cooperation is essential. I have to quote myself. That's what I started the first thing in the morning by saying, that we needed ASEAN-wide solutions, and that's why this was a forum for ASEAN that was ASEAN-wide. And it's so good to hear the specifics that are getting launched now of creating that grid, because indeed, with renewable energy, being able to trade where it's sunny in one place, windy in another place, hydropower in another place, makes it possible for all the countries to live within that grid. In addition to thanking our wonderful panel, I want to close my part of this by thanking Jeffrey Chia, Jeffrey Chia, if you would stand up. Your leadership and vision are exemplary. You have brought us all together, not only today, but on an ongoing basis in the most inspiring way. And so I want to express, on behalf of all of us, our gratitude for this fantastic opportunity, and we look forward to the next. Sunway University is a center for the world for sustainability. We have in the government very strong advocates for sustainability, which is extremely exciting. We have through Asean very strong advocates, so I think we have seen a lot to encourage us and to inspire us, a lot of work ahead, and a commitment when we come back next year to see the progress in place. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much.